Welcome to the podcast, Where Great Minds Meet. We're so glad you're listening. Where Great Minds Meet brings together visionary guests, from Chancellor Gary May and Dr. Robert Langer to Greg Zuckerman of the Wall Street Journal and Forbes 30 Under 30's Kyle Wum, to share insights on science, leadership, and purpose. Featuring pioneers like His Excellency Sidney Colley and Dr. Emery N. Brown, each episode dives into stories of resilience, discovery, and impact, celebrating the intersections of curiosity and greatness across diverse fields. Thanks for listening.
A podcast series where we interview some of the most brilliant and influential minds in their fields and with their crafts. We've interviewed the likes of Dr. Robert Langer, co-founder of Moderna, Chancellor Gary May, a leader in academic administration. We've interviewed ambassadors, and now we have one of the most accomplished musicians, four-time Grammy Award-winning member of the band King and Country, Joel Smallbone. With their profound influence in music industry, the Smallbone brothers exemplify how the arts integrate into the broader framework of life, using their musical talents to explore and express complex emotional and societal themes. Their work not only entertains but educates and provokes thought, aligning with many goals to foster a well-rounded, critical, and empathetic worldview. So, I know you have your music tour coming up, Summer Boy Christmas. So how do you balance the artistic and technical aspects of producing music, especially for diverse global audiences? How are you able to maintain the audience that you have and maintain your niche expertise in your craft?
Good question, David. Well, first of all, I should say my dad's name is David. My brother's name is David, and my middle name is David. So we got a good cross connect between us. Yeah. Look, you have to go back to the origin story, right? The statement that you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. Mm-hmm. And I grew up around music, even in Australia. Our dad was a concert promoter, so he would bring bands and artists to Australia. And then my sister started traveling as a gospel Christian artist for Bexton James. And we were teenagers at the time, and Dad managed her and he needed cheap labor. And so he looked around and saw that he had 5 sons. And so we became the road crew. We probably broke some child labor laws in there somewhere, but nonetheless. Some of my first memories, David, were looking at like vinyl 45 album covers or going to a rock show. And then as a teenager, I was thrown into stage managing and background vocals and set design, as were my 4 brothers. And so I got to see music from such a young age, from so many different angles. And I'm awfully grateful today because I'm not just coming in thinking about the song alone. Everything starts and ends with the song, do not get me wrong. But I'm thinking about the song, and then I'm thinking about the music video, and then I'm thinking about how to present it live, and then I'm thinking about how to market it, and then I'm thinking about how the lights integrate with it, and the platforms, and the production, and the automation. And I've really appreciated that in music, and similarly in movies, since we've stepped into movies, just this holistic approach. I think if you want to be if you want to be a great mind in any field, you need to have a level of understanding of every part of the field you're in. And I've been very fortunate, by the grace of God, to see it from almost every angle. And so I'm very, very thankful.
Yeah, definitely. That's very, I understand, and I appreciate you sharing that. So in an era dominated by rapid technological advances, how has technology influenced your music production and distribution, particularly for projects like A Drummer Boy Christmas? Yeah. So how is technology influencing your work now?
Well, we've evolved so much, right? When Luke and I started as a band, I remember we jumped on, when we came up with the name for King and Country, we checked the URL. And then the second thing we did was we jumped on MySpace to make sure it was available. And it was a whole different day and a whole different time. From that day to this, streaming platforms have really stepped into, take the lead. And then theatrically, you've had a whole other evolution in that the pandemic and streaming platforms really disrupted the theatrical experience.
Okay.
And we were very fortunate earlier this year to put a film into theaters through Lionsgate and Kingdom Story Company called Unsung Hero, which I co-directed, and I played our dad in the film. And it was by the grace of God, again, it was the #2 movie in America when it released, which is just fascinating. And then, as you mentioned, this Christmas, we're going back into theaters a second time with A Drummer Boy Christmas, the live, the Drummer Boy Christmas Live, the cinematic concert experience. And basically what we did, David, is we took the film crew from Unsung Hero, the movie, and we put them in the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, last Christmas with 12,000 people. And we captured this live show up close and personal. We had an Emmy Award-winning sound mixer work on it. And it's just beautiful. I mean, my wife watched it and said, I think this is better than your live shows themselves, because in this experience, you're seeing it from so many different angles, and you're so in it sonically, visually. And so I think part of the reason we felt it was so important to put this into cinemas, not on a streaming platform or straight to television, is because you want to use the theatrical experience for the screen and the darkness and the sound, and really it's the most immersive visual experience you can have. So thanks to Fathom, December 5th through 9th, and potentially even beyond, because it's being received so well, we will be in 1,500 plus theaters in America, and it will be within driving distance of every American in the country. And so, and in Canada, and in the UK, and in Australia, and in New Zealand. So we're sending the Christmas story out to the world.
Man.
In 2024.
This is good, man. Repeat the sounding joy. So the quality of sound engineering can make or break a musical performance. Can you discuss any challenges you've had in that area and triumphs in creating and producing live and recorded performances? So you mentioned that you had an Emmy Award-winning sound engineer. So what were some of the challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, well, again, I keep saying by the grace of God, but I really feel that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of the digital revolution, these soundboards, David, that we use for the live shows, they can also multi-track. So we have about 100 inputs between every drum and every instrument and every vocal mic and crowd mic, about 100 channels in the show. And every single night, Ralph Rivera, who's our front of house engineer, he multi-tracks every single show. So it was actually pretty beautiful when Ainsley Grosser, who's a Grammy Award-winning musical mixer, and then Matt Waters, who's an Emmy Award-winning movie mixer, and they sort of mixed it together. When they got the files, they had everything they needed because they had multiple shows with every microphone. I think they had 8 or 10 crowd mics set up every night to capture the experience. So it all starts with the first visual and audio capture. And then we took that to Ainsley Grosser, who again is a Grammy Award-winning musical mixer, and he mixed them for streaming platforms. And then we took those to Matthew Waters in Los Angeles, who did Only Murders in the Building and Moonlight and all these other films. We took it to him, and he mixed it for 5.1 and Atmos, and just made it an immersive experience. So there was a lot of
people involved,
and a lot of steps to navigate, We went out to the Sony lot in Los Angeles and brought Ainsley out as well, and we just sat in this beautiful theater for 4 days and had fun.
Okay, so I appreciate you sharing that. So my story, my question to you now is, you've been successful, and I think it's hard to dispute that or debate that. So I would like to hear your story of what really contributed to your trajectory to success now, and how do you stay successful? How do you maintain the resilience that you have? Of course, faith plays into that, and you can feel free to talk about that if you would like. But I'm curious to know, like, because there are other people in the music arena, there are other people who are pursuing Christian music or faith or hope or inspirational music. How are you able to be successful and maintain it, and also maintain your wellness?
Well, it's the age-old question, right? I think the moment you think you've got the answers, the moment you actually don't.
Okay.
You know, I will say there are some key components to health. So we'll start with health and move into how to sustain success, because I think, you know, as we know in the human experience, if you do not have emotional, relational, spiritual, physical health, you cannot have a successful, thriving career in anything. So
human flourishing.
Yeah, right. And so I'm very fortunate to continue to collaborate with a lot of my family members, and that has been not always the case, but that's been really beautiful, because we built trust over these years. We've fought for each other.
Yeah, trust.
Trust is massive. My wife and I are partners. We partner on, she's really my family, you know, we partner on everything, and she understands me. And we, by the way, David, we've been through highs and lows together, her and me, and so we know, you know,
highs and lows. Yep.
How to
in the rhythms of grace.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. I think the simple daily acts of, be it, you know, I take you won't be able to see it because you're listening to the podcast, for many of you, but I'll show David. I take a plethora of supplements every day, from cod oil to magnesium to AG1, you know, just for physical stamina. One thing that LeBron James said when he was asked about how to sustain, he's like, hey, sleep. You must sleep. This is where your body rejuvenates, restores. This is where your mind orders your thoughts. So sleep is a massive deal. And then spiritually, it's really important to take a bit of time. I try every day to take, you know, at least, you know, 20 minutes just to, like, call it meditation, call it prayer, call it contemplation. It's probably a bit of all of it, just to be still and read something that is inspirational, either biblically or from a great mind. And then lastly, I'll just say, as far as personal health, counsel, wise counsel is so important. Not just counsel, but wise counsel, you know. And then if you follow the domino effects through, you know, into sustained success, a lot of it sort of works itself out. If you've got, you know, as the saying goes, art imitates life. So if your life is in chaos, your art will be in chaos. But if your life is in some sort of order, your art will be in some sort of order. So it does all. There's obviously a whole other conversation about how to sustain artistry, but I love that you started with the personal side, because without that, you have no art in the end.
Okay. So yeah, so this was very good, you know, and I don't want to take too much of your time. So I appreciate you speaking with me today. And once again, this is where great minds meet, and I want all of my listeners to check out A Drummer Boy Christmas Live by King and Country. So Joel, oh man, I don't know what to say. I'm almost lost for words. I appreciate you speaking with me today. This is a highlight for this podcast and a highlight for my day. So grace to you, and good luck with your work.
David Ferguson, bless you, man. Great to chat with you, and we'll do it again, and we'll see you in the cinemas.
Listening to the podcast Where Great Minds Meet. We're so glad you're listening. Where Great Minds Meet brings together visionary guests, from Chancellor Gary May and Dr. Robert Langer to Greg Zuckerman of the Wall Street Journal and Forbes 30 Under 30's Kyle Wum, to share insights on science, leadership, and purpose. featuring pioneers like His Excellency Sidney Colley and Dr. Emery N. Brown. Each episode dives into stories of resilience, discovery, and impact, celebrating the intersections of curiosity and greatness across diverse fields. Thanks for listening. Please note the views of this podcast reflect those of my guests and I. Also, please consult the relevant state and board-certified professionals for advice or consultation. Once again, thanks again for listening.